Toft,
Present.
Slapey,
Present.
Trottier,
Present.
Arnie,
Present.
Williams,
Present.
Dearden, absent. McKellar, absent.
All right, shall we stand for the pledge? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just noticed the new Minnesota State
I know.
flag over there.
It's pretty.
I like the gold on it.
Yeah, that makes it nice. All right, starting with approval and amendment of the agenda.
I'll make the motion for the agenda as presented.
Thanks, sorry, there's no minutes in the packet this time, so we'll just X that out, and we'll have them at the next meeting.
Okay. Okay, so Diane
I made the motion.
made a motion to approve the agenda, sorry.
I can second that.
All right. We have a second, and all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed? Great. Open forum? Nobody. So we're going to close open forum. All right, new business. Park projects, priorities. So when we did the master plan, and just to circle back, we kind of agreed that after City Hall was decided and going to be worked on, that we would put our efforts into City Park. And are we all still in agreement on that? Yes, okay. So then the priorities are listed in our master plan. They included trail improvements, ice rink, a vault toilet, pickleball courts, bike rack, and maintaining and adding to Harmony Park instruments, and a community garden, which we already did. So we would just have to put those in order, and everyone can kind of, did you want to get like a survey of everyone, Joe, and then get it back, or shall we discuss like, what do we think should be first? I guess we should just,
In the past, we would, people make rank lists, and that's kind of how it turns out. Because, you know, there's a set dollar amount to do certain things, and if we have a list of, let's say, 3 items that can fit in the dollar amount for the year, we can do 3, but if the top one takes more than that amount, or it takes multiple years, that's why we need to kind of have an order so we can. So from that point, I can get like estimates on
exactly.
items, costs, see what budget is available. So if you want to discuss it, go right ahead. If you just want to, everyone make your list, bring it back to the next meeting, that's, I mean, we've done that, that works well. If you know, it's up to the members, really. If you want to think about it more, that's your decision. I need something because I feel December will be our final budget. Generally speaking, like the priorities would have been taken care of June, and then you make a budget for the following year, and this year things are backed up, but the dollar amount is still there. Because in years past, we didn't have a dedicated amount. It was the project, figure out the cost. Then if that got approved, the money would be there the following year. So this is a little different, that the park does have funding now. So I don't think it's super critical because there's 50,000 budgeted. It made it through. There'll be something to do, and we can decide over winter. But yeah, so it's up to the chair and the committee how you want to come up with priorities.
I think we could spend a few minutes talking about it, because I don't think we have too much on the agenda tonight.
Could I ask Joe a question before we
Sure,
start?
absolutely.
Joe, when will this be done? Because I'm thinking if we're doing stuff around here, it might be congested or crowded here.
Well, with the community garden?
Oh,
The whole
Or City
project,
Hall?
yeah. It goes through the winter.
Tentatively, June to July is when the contractors will, that's when they figure the building will be done. I believe the landscaping, the parking lots, those sorts of things will probably be one of the last things to be done. So,
A chunk of summer would be over with before we could really start something here.
Yes, we're
But the garden
planning-
will be a go.
garden should pretty much, the bulk of the hard work should be done next week.
So they could be, they'll be planting next spring.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It looks
okay.
great.
We have 5 raised
exciting.
beds to go. We have more than sufficient wood chips. The fence guys are coming back to close it in next week, so that was really the most challenging part, the putting in the water fixtures and the tables and those items. Well, that can wait till spring.
all right, we'll finish
Good,
talking
she
about
just-
that with the update. Oh, she's got the pictures up. All right. We haven't sold them yet. So that, we'll get to that later in the, but I think just starting to talk about things with the budget in mind, if we thought about, we have 50,000 next year. It may not be our top priority, but what could we get done with that? You know what I mean? And then continue to make plans, because if we do want trails, there's a lot of work to be done to figure out where we would add to the trails, and I think that's a pretty high consensus on our list. And I know from people I've talked to that improving and extending the trails would be a pretty good
If
priority.
we don't spend it, can it roll over for us, or does it revert back to the general fund?
I'm not entirely sure.
Good question.
I would hope it builds, because otherwise if you have
A big
A
project?
big
big
project.
Yeah.
It's a hit.
you couldn't get past it. In the past, like the playground, the playground was, I wanted to say it was 160,000, and the council at that time split it. They allocated, I believe, half one year. So the first year, we figured out which playground it was, and then that money rolled in to the following year, and then the money was there to purchase it. And that was, 4 or 5 years ago, and things have been kind of changing a little bit each year. Their dedicated, consistent dollar amount was discussed, but it's finally established.
And then are we carrying anything over from this year that we know of?
It's going to be
Probably
pretty
Probably
close to
not.
on
Yeah,
budget.
that's what I was thinking, but
I would anticipate the community garden budget, I believe, it's gonna be pretty much right at $40,000. We had $3,800 in donations, various donations. The wood chips, which I estimated at $8,000, we got completely free. So that, without that stuff, it would have been $50,000 range. So that's gonna be right there. And then a lot of the signs at the disc golf course this spring was not budgeted. That was significant dollar amount of signs and things like that. I'm not sure where I put that, if I put it in operating or took it out of the projects, but I don't expect there to be a whole lot left this year.
So, and then on that same note, we also will be applying for grants and stuff for some of these projects for sure. So that takes a couple years sometimes, or a year at least, and getting them in at the right time and knowing which ones to go for, and we won't have staff really to help us, although Joe did do this grant this last year, and really thank you for that. 2,000?
Oh, yeah, with grants, it's a longer process. 'Cause
Yeah.
you have to decide what you want, get a budget established. It generally, when the grant was secured for the boat launch, that was And the park committee did that. That was $100,000 grant, and first it had to get approved. We had to order plans, then apply for it. It took 2 years. That's pretty normal for high dollar grants. For smaller grants, can be quicker.
So some of the things like pickleball courts, there are grants available for
Right.
that. So it may be high up on our list, but it may be a couple years away as far as getting funding for it like that, unless we want to just go for,
My feeling about the pickleball is it is so popular and there are so many people, like Cross Lake is busy from the early morning until late at night and people in line waiting to use it. And so we have people driving from Breezy to Cross Lake to go play. I think it would be so, so appreciated in the community. You know, and there just isn't availability right here anywhere near, so.
There are 2 or 3 courts going up at North Star, but they're going to be enclosed at some point. But I agree, the pickleball, that's the fastest growing sport in America. I think we get started on that. I mean, I think that'd be a great idea.
And I'm unsure on North Star if that would be just open to the public. I'm assuming there would be a cost to it to play.
there'll be a
Yeah,
cost.
yeah. So, I mean, I would definitely, if I were to rank order mine, that would be just way up there to start pursuing that.
How much
And we have the
space
space for it. I mean, we have room behind the ball field,
Well-
existing ball field to put that in,
There's
so,
multiple options.
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we
Pickleball.
thought we could. He said they need to get a truck in along there, so
I'm sorry, there's what?
where we had talked about back by the basketball courts behind there and along, there has to be the width of a road. You want to take that?
Sure. We would need to adjust the site.
Yeah.
Use some of the valley if you want it fit in there. But there's options. I mean, those lots that are getting donated.
Right?
I don't see
Yeah.
it being
The volleyball court,
Yeah.
it's possible.
being too inhibited. I mean, this was a park priority at one time. It gained a lot of steam. I mean, we did homework on it. I think the last time we discussed it, approximately $100,000, I think would have got us something pretty comparable to Cross Lake.
And how many do
2.
they have there?
2 court.
They have 4.
Well, they're adding,
But they're adding, yeah.
Their current amount, whatever the current size course they have right now, was about 100,000.
You know how many?
well, I just gave, I gave us the numbers from 50 Lakes that were doing 2, and it was 50 grand for 2.
That's, yeah,
Yep,
there's a range. That's what TJ told me, I don't know when, 4 or 5 years ago. So,
yeah. So, for sure, we could get 2, and I don't know if we have room for more than that, but if we wanted to say year 1, it was going to be pickleball, and we go for it, and we still try to get maybe some grant money.
And then start working on planning for trails, because that is definitely a bigger endeavor.
And the other thing is, for the ice rink, and to flood that and put out a couple benches without a warming house would not be a big deal, and we could see how that would go if we get
I would like
interest.
to visit with someone that has one. I've never
For
maintained
sure.
one.
Oh, yeah,
I know Nisswa would do that, but they also had a Zamboni.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd use a Zamboni on it or not.
no,
Well, I can tell you, just Nisswa's history with their ice rink, when they started doing it without the Zamboni and with just trying to flood a field, the maintenance was terrible. It's really hard to keep a smooth sheet of ice. It's hard to get in there to plow it off. And so then they started to add to it. They had to concrete underneath where the rink was. Then they got the Zamboni, lots and lots of donations. So I love the idea of it. I think it's way more than just throwing some water on the baseball field. And I may be wrong, but I know that has been over the past long time that they've had theirs going.
Yeah, when I worked there, they did have one in the baseball field, but I don't know how
Yeah.
it was created. Like, I do know the park person, the real issue you get with, as near as I can understand, and I'm not a hockey player or anything, is the ice melts from the bottom, and when skaters are going along, they punch through, and that's what the Zamboni helps with, or you drill holes, put water in it. I'd like to educate myself a little bit on it with someone before I commit that we could do it and it'd work great. Because we can get water, we can push dirt around, but we can get snow off of it, but not a whole lot more than that.
Well, I would definitely
I don't know if
agree, we
TJ
need to
does it.
gather lots of information. But Brainerd has like 5 different ice rinks, and they're not very elaborate like the Nisswa one. And they run them every year in 5 different locations, and they've got like some of them have a hockey rink and a general skate area, and some just have the general skate area. So I'd look into.
Most of them have a warming house open.
Yeah.
We use the Gregory Park one a lot.
Yes, yes.
It's really nice, but they are out there a lot working on it.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's
shoveling
ongoing.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have volunteers who are in the warming house, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll start gathering information for the future, that it's still a priority, though. But it sounds like pickleball, sounds like it's from who's here so far, and I just got a note, Megan said she'd be here around 5:30, but maybe we start looking into that and pricing that to get going on that. Is that all right with
And I
everybody?
think also looking to see what grants might be available for us
Yes.
to apply for that.
Yeah, Gail has looked into that. It's, generally speaking, DNR grants for establishing things is where you get them. I got to that point, the last discussion, and then the committee changed. The person carrying that torch left and priorities got changed.
Yep, that's for sure.
Are we looking for the pickleball, like, where would I start my research? Am I looking at a certain size or a certain dollar amount? Like, next year's budget, or,
I mean, I
What
would
do you
just say, let's look at 2 courts, let's look at, I think I sent you, and I can re-get you the size, because they made them a little too short over at 50 Lakes. So they regret they didn't make them a little bit longer for when the bounce back comes, and then there's fencing.
Yep.
Is there a regulation size?
there is, for
But
the
there's-
court itself, but outside of the
Yeah,
court.
so they didn't leave enough room for
Oh,
it to go back,
Like
or to
the-
leave a little room before the fence and stuff. So I've got all that information, and I can share that, and the person over there.
Yep.
and the
That's good
budget.
enough for,
That's a start.
I mean, as long as you're all comfortable, that's the priority. There's 5 of you here. That's where I'll start looking into. in
And
my
if we
spare
go
time.
over, or if we don't get grants, we'll try all, but we would,
I mean,
we
I
would
think it
then
would be
ask for
nice
the difference.
to, yeah, to dream for 4,
So
knowing
whatever
that we might
spot,
have to go 2 and 2.
Big enough for expansion.
First of all, well, yeah, why
Or
don't you look?
donations,
Let's
or
get the
donations.
dimensions and then figure out how many we can fit logically and sensibly in there.
So I will look for 2 to 4 courts, figure out the dimension.
Great.
With the GIS, I can put black, just like, it'll show the area. It's not gonna be like as nice as the map we have for this, but it'll give you some placement options. I'll just come up with a handful of placement options.
Yeah.
Look at the sites, and.
And I know
I can do that, that's no problem.
fencing, people regret putting in too short of fences, once again, because it goes, makes everyone go, but if it's close to the woods and it ends up going in there, then we'd have to want to, maybe think about a taller fence. So fencing is a big part of the cost, and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, fencing and the pavement, those are the.
yep, that's all.
I do think just watching 50 Lakes go up, that once the installation of them doesn't take real long.
No,
So that's the exciting thing, is it's not a project that's going to take a really long time to build, so.
exactly.
No, not at all.
Clearing
Yeah.
land may.
Yeah,
Yeah, we may have to take some trees out and, like he said, level areas and stuff,
does
so.
work.
It would be dirt hauling. The Generally pickleball courts, I think, are asphalt. I think it's a little cheaper, or concrete. I mean, that's your big expense, and then
Right.
fencing. Those are your
Right.
two biggest items. Everything else, you know, the nets and the the painting's fairly expensive, but
Yeah.
I'll start looking into it, and I don't know if I'll have something for the next meeting, but be my focus, and we'll just kind of start wide and start narrowing in on it. And
Thank you.
Well, that's exciting. We don't need to vote on that, do we? We're all in agreement?
I don't think so, because we're just
Researching.
researching, diligence, get a ballpark cost, see where it fits. Once we get serious about it, that would be a different discussion.
All right. Shall we move on? All right. We can take up those other ones at later dates. Park signs inventory.
Is just, I thought, useful information. To get the inventory, I asked Cross Lake and Nisswa, 'cause they have park staff, what they had. They sent what they had. All the other areas, Neil, my second in charge, visited the sites. I mean, by no means did he get every sign, but he got everyone he could find. Just to give an example of rules, maps, what different communities are doing. One thing that stood out to Neil that we don't have, that most other communities have, is like at trailheads, like maps, like a
Right.
rigid map. And as far as rules, we seem to have as many or more rules than most places. You can see a wide range of different ways to post it, the welcome signs. So I don't think we're a whole lot different as far as somebody doesn't really have everything super organized and consistent. Some are very simple. It was a good information for myself too. And this is just meant more for information as our signs are starting to wear out, get old. A lot of the new, like the disc golf course, the community garden, the signage is going to be evolving year by year as people discover this, that. I think our rules will start to establish more. So that's the main reason I did it. We've had a lot of talk about that, and I think it's always good to see what your neighbors are doing in relation to yourself. Just comments, questions.
Well, I understand the need to have, well, first of all, directional signs, maps and such. And I also think that as far as being able to enforce some of the rules or, behaviors that we hope to see in those areas, we have to have them posted. I'm a big proponent for less is more. We walked the fire trail, again, we do that quite often, but the other day, and now they have more signs in there saying, huge, visit all the other Crow Wing County parks. It's huge. And I just thought, wow, this is a nature space. And there's so many signs in the picnic area. It's pretty overwhelming. And I think when there's too many, it takes away and people don't stop to read all of them. So I appreciate this because I think you can see that on some of them. And the ones that are simple and have the priorities there and a good map. And I think that would be my thing to keep in mind as we move forward. But
It's one of the most common requests we get is maps. And our walking trail is mapped. The disc golf course is not. We've not paid someone to map it. Now that we're where we're at, I think a couple of years ago I talked to UDisc people and they would be willing to work with us to provide something for free. but like, we don't have, and the maps I provided for like Bemidji, like, for example, for residents that want to know where all our different park systems are, you know, we don't have something like that. And that would be, it could be a simple project, it could be expensive, it could be, hey, we're happy with where we're at. I don't expect answers, it was something we're working on because, yeah, we're gonna be doing some moving. So I thought it was good information for this meeting.
And, you know, since the parks are a big part of our signage, they're talking about doing all of the city signs over, and the parks do have a big part in that. And if we tie it all together and can make a path going forward for everybody, you know, for the whole thing, I think that's good. I like this one, and this is kind of, I like the symbols. So it doesn't say, no, 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 it's symbols. It
Right.
says, you know,
My favorite. The symbols, to me, are too busy.
oh, well, this is how they're doing it, Crow Wing. So like in Cuyuna, all their Cuyuna signs are just the sign, and maybe we don't have 10 of those things here. We have the major ones, but I just like the symbolism. And then the QR code, that's where you get into having, this one's got that at the bottom. So you don't have to have all of these, just the key. Please see, you know, this for the rest. Are we, how far are we off from the system being able to handle a QR code? Nothing. No system that can handle that.
Not
Okay,
at this point, the software hasn't been purchased.
okay.
It was budgeted, didn't get purchased. It's been discussed for years. Hopefully, this next council will get the software, get it implemented, tie it to the website. That'll be a long process too, or longer process. I mean, no one here is an expert whiz at that. We'd sub somebody out to do it. But we do have, I mean, we pay IT people to do it. We just got to get to the point where we know what we want on it and take action. So, all right.
So that one looks like it's printed more, Diane, on metal?
What, this would.
Or you
know,
just
I'm
like the
assuming-
look of this,
I
the
like,
copy?
I like how it's laid
Pine
out.
River
I like,
Overlook.
would like the city logo, the name of what park we're talking about. Are we talking about the disc golf park? Are we talking about, you know, the fishing pier? This, you know, you put the name of whatever it is there. And I just find those signs, they're put out there giving direction, but I find they're a bit much at the entrance to a park, in my opinion.
Where else would you put them so that people know what's expected?
That's why I like this. I think this is better at the entrance to the park.
Oh.
But are we talking also about like a fancy wooden sign too, or would something like this replace that?
It's a discussion we're gonna have to have.
Yeah, we're not doing
I
it right
can-
now.
No, it's not right now. Those wood signs, you know, the original wood park signs we had, they're wearing
Or
out.
no? Well, they've been around a long time.
Exactly. They've
lasted.
lived their life.
But like we would have, like by the garden, where we have a fancy wooden sign, and then like closer to the play equipment, you could have something with any rules you wanted.
You could, there's a number of ways to do it. Like our kiosk that we made, you know, that was really affordable.
Right.
And those are nice because as rules change, you open it up,
Puts
printed it
a new message.
easier. When you have a fabricated sign that has rules in writing in stone, basically, replacing it, changing rules becomes very difficult. But it looks better, so.
Yeah. Well, like at some place like, say, the fishing pier, how likely are those rules to change? Are we going to suddenly say, okay, you can have alcohol?
We don't have hardly any rules posted there. That's just like, you know, it's been a pretty well-used destination.
Yeah, the beach.
Yeah, the beaches, the beaches rules. Generally, the places, I guess the places I get the most discussion about rules being followed are here, the beach, and the disc golf course.
Here being this park? Oh, because of the pavilions, I imagine.
All sorts of things, people walking dogs, responsible use of golf carts, because golf carts are not allowed, they appear there. When it's an elderly person driving their golf cart through
To the pavilion.
to the park.
Right.
And I would anticipate the community garden's gonna create some, because people are gonna be hauling in a bunch of heavy stuff. That we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I mean, there'll be different ways people are gonna use it, and I would expect, those rules we come up with there will change in time, but it's something I wanted to start thinking about, because we spent a lot of money on signs this year. It was like 5,000 or 6,000, and
We've got a lot to look at.
Yep.
I told you I thought you'd done a good job of providing us information.
yeah, it's you can spend a lot of money on signs very quickly, or the minimal approach where you have one central location that handles everything, QR code, map, rules, spread it out. It's something to think about, because when you look at the whole picture, it's a large project, a lot of questions. So I thought it would be a good
start.
discussion topic, and just something to take a look at. So.
All right, anybody else have any input for that? All right, then community garden logo. So this, oh. So this is the logo that we're looking at for putting out in front of the garden on a sign, and maybe on the little signs, by the door. And so we'll take a look at that on the back, I think, or the next page. So this was just really rough. So we would have the logo at the top, and then just on the outside coming in, it would say, to rent a garden space, inquire at City Hall. The hours open, sunrise to sunset. No pets, alcohol smoking with the line through. And a QR code for when we will apply that to the sign when we get it. So that would be on your entrance into the garden through the fence.
Okay, question.
8.5 by 11.
It says the city, on that page, it says the Breezy Point, the City of Breezy Point logo. Are we talking this one?
Well, we're talking about that one now, yep. So cross that out and put garden logo.
Okay.
Because I would like to suggest that at least have a small corner, somewhere on a small corner that we have use our city logo.
We're standing right in the city, so
I mean,
do we
it's
need
kind
two
of like
logos
right
on there?
Well,
That's the question.
I don't know.
It's-
How big
It
is
a
this- how big
taxpayer-
is
it
the
a
sign?
taxpayer-funded
How big is
thing.
the sign?
Oh, it's 8.5 by 11. It's going to be
Yeah,
very small.
so
It's going to be the
it's-
size of this page with those three things and a little logo at the top.
Yeah.
You really don't even need a logo, but since we made one for the garden, we thought we'd
Yeah.
put it out on the sign. And then coming out the other way, coming out just to make sure, we'll say, see you next
Water
time. Did
off,
you remember
yeah.
to shut the water off?
That's
Put the tools away, take your trash, and thank you. And anything else that we might need to add on there. The rest of the rules they will be getting, and the guidelines, which got passed by the council
When they sign up.
at the last meeting, so yay, we got the forms all approved, and we'll be just minorly tweaking them as we get more information. And we won't need to have their approval again. And So this is the next step, is we get these signs made over the winter so we can get them on. And is there,
The only thing I was thinking is, I love this cultivating unity and growth. I wonder if you could put that on your inside main entrance, the two signs as people are leaving. It could just say that at the bottom, where you have thank you,
yep,
or, cultivating unity and growth. I just like that, and I think that would be nice to put. It's kind of a nice little slogan or something.
oh, I like that.
I would still like somewhere the city logo, since it is taxpayer. This doesn't even say it's funded by the, I mean, I think we need to recognize that this is funded by the taxpayers and put our stamp on it.
So
our
we're
logo.
skipping ahead then. I would like to
Well,
finish with
it's
this,
Same thing.
and then we'll move.
Same thing with.
You
with
think we should have the logo on there as
somewhere.
well?
It- just
The
a
Breezy
small
Point
little
logo.
thing.
The text that says.
It's,
Just, if that's the big sign you're gonna have, just like that.
Well, if you have this, if,
no,
no, if you're going to put this on the front as people go into the garden, put this on the inside on the one coming out of the
It
garden.
needs to be, I just feel it needs to be.
That's-
I don't
That
think
would
you
work.
want to put both logos on
No.
one side of the sign. It's too much.
And not that they
Right.
would be the same size.
But I think you're going to have
it's just busy.
two, yeah.
I mean, we didn't even,
Simple
we
is
thought,
better.
maybe we don't need to put a logo. Then we thought, we developed this logo, let's put it on there.
But since it is
We're standing
a
in.
city amenity, the
Right.
city needs to have the recognition for the rest of the taxpayers.
There will be a big wooden sign in the ground, which we haven't seen yet, or we're working on that, that will say Breezy Point Community Garden. So right next to it is just the sign on the door on the fence. We don't need a big giant ground sign and that. So there will be another whole fence or a whole sign in front of the garden.
I just feel
that's going to say-
somewhere the city
Oh, yeah,
logo.
no, it's going to say that. It's going to have, that sign will have that. So we haven't gotten to that part yet, but because we were trying to figure out if we want to do the wood look, or do we want to use metal, or do we want to, one of these other kind of things.
I agree with Diane, though. I think our city logo needs to be there, too. Otherwise, this looks like this was funded by somebody else, or an outside group. And this
So
was
let's,
totally
I
funded
mean,
by us.
on the ad advertisement?
Whatever Diane was mentioning, I think it should go where the taxpayer does see that, so they,
I think so.
yeah, I agree.
Well, I think it's saying contact City Hall on the ad. So, I mean, that's,
But, again, like right here, there could be a little logo, just a little, I mean, I don't know how big this ad's gonna be, but just where
It's a half page.
if
Not much bigger than
Breezy
this.
Point is known and our logo is recognized on different things, I think it just adds more credibility, and to the taxpayers, it's a kind of a recognition that it is a city official thing funded by all of us.
Okay. So back to this to begin with. The logo and the sign for the garden that we need to get approved and then put through. This is just for the door, in and out.
yep, it's for people using the garden or wanting to use the garden.
And then I should have said there's going to be a big sign of wood or metal that says our logo and community garden, and that's basically it, right in front of
Right.
the door going in and out of the garden.
Would that be on the arbor?
It's not going to be on the arbor, I don't think. I think we're going to have it in the ground, before the door on the side, so it won't block any driving of,
So just as you design that, keep in mind that people on the committee
Want-
would like to have it say City of Breezy Point with that, on that wooden sign.
on the wooden side. That's what we plan to have, but we haven't even
See how
put
big
that
this
forward
is,
yet.
Gail? That's not huge.
No,
That's
I
a
know.
little-
It's
little
going to be
thing.
this big.
It's going to be
like-
on a big wooden sign.
It'll
It
be on
will-
a sign this big, right next to the garden entrance, where this is just going to be a little 8.5 by 11 rules sign, just the basic rules, because we don't want to put everything on there like we just talked about.
No,
Just
I
the
get
key
that.
things. So that City of Breezy Point garden will be in a separate sign. We just haven't mocked it up yet.
But on this, a little,
That's an ad. We're not talking about that. We're on this page.
I'm just giving you an example of how small it can be, and the taxpayers still get,
So if we put this logo on the front of on the going in sign and that logo on the one going out, is that okay?
yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that on this other side, or the second sign going out, the city logo.
Somewhere. It could be
Yeah,
small in the
it's,
corner.
well,
but
the whole
just
thing is only this big,
some-
so.
somewhat,
It can be
yeah.
pretty good size because we don't have a lot of type on there. Okay, we got that done. Do we have to vote on it, or are we good?
I think it's,
Yes, I would like you to vote.
It has to be a recommendation.
Okay,
And where are you advertising?
we haven't done the advertising yet. This is
Well,
still just the little
and you know,
small sign going on the gate.
we're still actually in the exploratory phase, so now you would take this and go get it priced, right?
I can.
And then we come back with them with
Want
a
to
mock-up.
re-mock-up,
They're
and
gonna-
then we vote.
Then we vote, yeah,
Direct staff to research.
We
Yes.
can do that.
let's do that.
I do have close to good enough understanding, but I think
We'll talk.
coming back on it would be good. And then as far just for that memo, that second point, maybe I was mistaken, the future home of the community garden, what I was thinking we were discussing was similar to, what's for City Hall, something like that.
Sorry, what?
For the discussion on
Yep. So reading through this, we're about
the
halfway down now
community garden
on this page.
logo and signage.
Yep,
The second bullet point in discussion, where it says future home of Breezy Point Community Garden, my understanding from the request was, like right now, we have a sign out front that says future home of Breezy Point City Hall.
yes,
And it would be somewhere over
yes,
this area?
yep.
Yeah.
Do we need it now, though, that the garden's up and ready to go? Do we need to spend the money for another sign to say future home when the garden's ready to go?
But nobody knows but us. Nobody
Yeah, but we
really, I
don't
don't
want to
see
say
back there.
future home. We could just say,
It's
you
not
know,
open yet,
visit
though.
our community garden or whatever.
It's your discussion. I
Yeah,
really
that would
don't
work.
have a-
But I mean, I just think a sign on the road versus, because no one knows it's back there. And only the group that's in on this kind of, we know. But if I didn't know, I wouldn't know.
I actually have a lot of people who've asked me about it, and they're super excited about it. So I think now it's more visible with the leaves and,
Not to mention the trees
yeah.
Gone,
really
yeah.
opened up the
Yes,
view.
yeah.
And I would agree with Deanne. I've had more
Yeah.
inquiries about this project than
Yep.
most.
Yeah.
Save the money.
Good, good. How much should a sign like that cost?
Ask engineers.
Because it looks
No,
like
couple $100.
150 to 100 per sign, and the
Oh, yeah,
larger
100 to
ones, 100 to 3.
Well, maybe we need to see how much interest there is in the plots before we may not need to put another sign out there if if the plots all sell out right away.
We'll know January 1st.
Yeah,
I've
Okay.
really
had-
quickly, I
Or
think.
second.
Yeah.
Look at Jeff. It'll be like a rock star
With all the
line out the door.
equipment. With all the construction going on, there's a lot to see out there already. It's like almost too much to try to look at.
Okay. So we're saying hold off on that one, hold off in the future.
Well, I think you could use
The
that
group just
$200
asked
for
if we could.
something else.
Okay.
Okay.
Group asked if we could do that, but we're going to hold off.
Then bring
I
back.
will report
the-
back.
Work with Gail because I believe I have an understanding of what you agreed on, but we'll work through it to get it there, and then we'll bring it back when it's ready.
Yeah.
Okay? Then
And that
that's-
won't take too
that's good
long, so
enough.
that's an easy,
Yep,
small one.
that-
Okay.
That is good enough for that topic.
All right.
I'm ready.
All right, then the next page is the ad. So
Okay.
we're talking about putting the logo here, the City
Yeah,
of Breezy Point
little,
logo.
You know, a little one. It's like our stamp of approval and our recognition that the taxpayers are part of this deal.
I'm fine with that. Before, we were getting pushback on it, so it was kind of back and forth. So I'm fine with putting that on there. It'll make it
well, it's a done deal now, so push back against the garden or whatever it was, it's kind of pointless.
So we'll do that, we'll add that, and we're also going to add, we would love to have added a QR code, but that doesn't seem like it's going to be ready, so we'll put the www along the bottom. So it has, it's going to be a long one all the way to the garden actual page. We'll put that down on the bottom. We're going to be adding that. Other than that, this is how the ad is going to look. This is like our 4th run-through of it.
Looks great.
You think so? So this would go in the Pequot Community Ed Spring Flyer, and it's $2.95, and it's just basically telling everyone it's here. So I always look through everything in there and sign up for stuff from their booklet. Okay, so,
So you just need a motion to approve going ahead with that ad. I make that
and
motion.
the $2.95, which they will bill us
Yep.
for.
I'll second. I'll second it.
Okay, motion. And all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, great. Done. Old business?
None,
All right, staff reports.
already addressed majority of it. So the community garden, we have 5 raised beds. We just ran out of dirt, so we're
I
getting
wondered.
1 more truckload of dirt. So that's, that's
Pretty
right where I
close.
thought we should be. It's really good. That will arrive tomorrow. I expect the wood chips, the raised gardens, that'll be done this week. The fence will be closed off next week. The pipe that the fence post that got dinged will be replaced. And then they'll just leave picnic tables, tool racks, those sorts of items to figure out over winter and fall, what's left of fall. And then once we are completed, I'm going to update the layout map to reflect, because there's been changes to it. We've made the center aisle bigger, moved things around slightly, but everything is still there. Some dimensions changed slightly. We'll get that updated so it's accurate for when we start taking reservations, everyone can, it makes sense. That's all we had on that. The pavilion move, the pad's ready. The pavilion, I don't have a hard timeline when they're gonna move it. It'll probably be when it's in the way for the project is when they move it. So that's where that sits. The disc golf course kiosk, we're gonna try and get it moved before winter. So basically, once we're done out there, that'll be our next item. I'd anticipate the next week or 2. And then what we're going to do is the sign in the parking lot there, we will transfer that sign to the new parking lot for the meantime.
All right.
No cost, it's there. I forgot, I didn't even realize it was there. That should address, I forgot, we had a discussion with someone, they would like something identifying in the lot. I thought that makes sense. And then the final item was the disc golf course basket removal seasonal. We had requests to remove baskets. Initially, when I looked into it, following the letter of what the council approved, said 75 feet, which would have not really done anything more than maybe 1 or 2. So we were more generous with the scope of the removal. We didn't grant all the requests, but we did grant, the best way I could try and say is the ones that are meant to be applied to the properties they border. So that was how I looked at it. So, if people are asking why did we go beyond that? Why didn't we follow the letter of the law? Well, that is what we did. I talked to the administrator, and that's what we came up with. So, So far, I haven't heard, and I did hear back from folks from both sides of, why'd you move it that much? And they wanted, and we had a discussion, and the players understood some of the players understood where we're coming from. And we did have requests to remove all 18, which I think would have kind of pushed it further. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's how we did it. That's all I have.
Thanks for promptly taking care of that, Joe. You're very quick on that, thank you.
All right, any committee member reports?
I'd like to, I have something to say. I would like to have seen the minutes from the meeting, the last meeting. After I left, there were some critical comments made towards myself and two other committee members. I can't speak for the other committee members, although I would suspect that they probably agree with me that committee members Trotter and McKellar would probably agree, but I just think that if you're going to go after somebody in public, do it in our presence or face-to-face. It's disrespectful and especially bad form when it is being done in a public forum. And really, the two items that I'm just going to comment real quick, their survey had nothing to do with the choices that this council made. If you all recall, in August, we gave the council those two choices to choose. Because I gave a survey, it didn't prevent them or looking at other options. And also, the survey was done with never an attachment to the Park and Rec Committee. I've never said that, and it was never part of the umbrella of the Park and Rec umbrella. So I just think we're in the future. Anybody here has something to say to me, I'd appreciate if you say it to my face. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, I did have, because the garden guidelines and application were approved by the council, they should, with the minor tweaks, we should put those on the website, just so people can look through it
Yes.
in that link.
That was one
Okay.
item I should have addressed in the staff report, is the
Okay.
council wanted to be very clear with the community garden that payment is part of the application. And then I believe Councilman Ball had a minor adjustment, that change of wording. It really didn't change anything important. They would like to see that changed.
Yeah, and we didn't have the exact number of
Yes, yep. That's what it was.
raised
Yep.
beds and, because we,
And she wanted that cleared up.
Yep.
And though that will be done.
those are the minor tweaks, yeah.
Yep, those will be done before January.
What did you say that was, the guidelines?
Yep,
Or
the guidelines for the garden that we had approved before, and they approved it now, the council, and the application. So
Got it.
those are
Thanks.
done and ready to go, and they can go on the website whenever you're ready to have that done. Because if there's a lot of people inquiring, they might want to look in there and see, once we get that up, we can direct them there. And
Then we'll start handing the we'll put them in the tray
Mm-hmm.
so people can grab them, send them in with a check, and we'll go from there.
Yep, and then probably next month, we can talk about who and how it's all going to get taken in, and if you need help from the committee, we're willing.
Yeah,
If you're still overwhelmed,
Are you going to
staff
date
like-
when they come in, like date and time
We're gonna
that they
have
come
to.
in? You're going to
Yeah.
have to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's on the application, actually, I think, the date and time, or the date anyway. But then we're going to have them select, the first people coming get to select which plot they want. So it's kind of nice. So first come, first serve, and
that could be interesting.
Yeah.
How we divvy, the first person that applies, and the process of if we, the fifth person has to wait to the first person to pick, you know what I mean?
if there's a line.
Yeah.
I could see that being, let's say that first person in line waits 2 weeks.
I hope we have this problem. That'd be awesome.
In some ways, it might just be,
There's so
you're
many.
first, you go down the list, just fill them in. They'll be learning.
Yep.
We'll start, if it doesn't work great, we'll change it
Well,
and try and get it smoother. So that just popped in my head that I could see if we let people pick, not saying let them pick, but if they pick, it could cause a lot of red tape.
Okay, well,
I do think they should have some choice though, because some do have, I'm thinking mobility and things like that. I would like people to be able to choose where they're located.
or next to friends and things like
Or-
that. Yeah, I don't,
yeah.
I think
It'll
I
work.
don't think it's going to be a mob fighting, fist
We'll
fighting or
find out.
anything, but I sure hope we do have, a
there'll be a
sellout.
lot
And,
of
because we did
interest, I
talk
think.
about maybe just doing it one zone, because we have 2 zones for watering, and so we thought maybe if we filled the first zone, if we didn't sell out the first year.
It'll be a learning process.
Yeah,
We're gonna have a
but-
lot of
Yep.
questions.
I think we should, and then we're going to,
And as it fills up, I think it will get a lot smoother.
Yeah.
Because routine will start to
for sure.
establish
Yeah, well,
itself.
then people a lot of them keep their plot from year to year.
Yep, and once that process happens, that eliminates a lot of questions, so.
Well, I think we should have a response 4 or 5 months, because I think this will be a big success when 36 plots are gone and 25 are to non-Breezy Point residents, and they're going to be saying, well, we paid $40,000 for this, and I don't have a plot out there. So I think we need to have a response of what we're going to say to that. And I don't know if we should have let them continue to use plots year after year. We can say, get here early and get a plot then next year. I mean, I can see that being an issue.
It could be.
Yeah, we may have to say,
Or maybe they have to pay ahead of time or,
Citizens first?
yeah, there is a $10 difference. It's 30 for Breezy and 40 for non, and Cross Lake is anybody the same amount. So we did jack it up for people who weren't.
Do you say, well, if all these Breezy people applied, we're sorry, you live in Pine River, you're not going to be able to get one this year? I mean,
We
are
didn't-
we set up
we-
to do that, or is
no,
it everybody
no,
in
we
the
haven't.
same?
First come, first served regardless of
Yeah.
residency.
Yeah,
Yep, right now, that is how I read the application. It's first come, first serve. The dollar amount doesn't change based on the plot. Like the raised garden, I believe, are the same cost.
they're the same.
As
It's
the-
just if you're not a resident, it's $10
Yep,
more.
that's the difference.
And if we do end up with this problem, then we will deal with it and change it for the next year, If a bunch of Breezy people are saying we can't get in,
Preference to-
then we will,
preference to
then we
Breezy.
will make it that way.
Yeah, we didn't cover all our bases. We'll learn something.
Right.
I think it will be a very well-received project, I hope, so.
Yeah.
It went really good, and I'd really like to thank my guys. They did
Yeah.
it. I came up with the figures, how it's nice and symmetric, consistent. That's Neil and the guys that they did it. So I had minimal help with it.
Yeah, we had to make some pivots, and we asked for a different mix of soil, and Joe and his team have been really fantastic. I mean, everything that we asked for, they've accommodated and thought of better ways and more ideas, and it's been a really wonderful experience, so thank you guys.
It's fun to see it going up.
Can people get more than one?
We said if you'd like one, you can request it, but that won't be given out until
Everyone else?
everyone gets
Yeah.
one
Okay.
only, and then if we have extras. And there's usually somebody who thinks they want one and they pay for it, and then they can't do it, they get sick, or something moves, there's always some plots over across Lake that are empty. We also went to, the garden group went over to the food shelf, and we talked about having a designated plot for them, or also just telling us what they don't get from their other sources, so we don't step on those feet. I mean, we'll give them our excess of whatever we get, so we had discussion about that, whether they should get a plot for free or whether they should pay for the plot. She was okay paying for the plot. She had no problem with that and thought that was probably even a good thing, because then their volunteers will, come in and help work with it too.
Nice.
So we really want to make that an integral part of the garden, and sharing all the excess and then putting in our extra area. We have like 20 yards that we're deciding maybe what we want to do, that we didn't put anything in yet, just because it worked to fence it out to to that point. So we, we'll see what proceeds here and make some decisions after we get a little experience in. Maybe some herbs that everyone can share, things like that. We had all kinds of ideas, but one more thing, Bill, I will address what you were saying. You had to leave early that night, and that was not known to me. So you were supposed to be here during that discussion, and whatever your personal reason was, you had to leave early, so I intended you to be here, and everybody to be here, and to discuss in general the whole thing. So it wasn't like just because you left, I made up all kinds of things to talk about. It was intended for everybody to hear. So whoever wasn't here was not left out on purpose. And I have no problem ever saying exactly, dealing with issues head on, straight. So with that, is there anything else? Then I will adjourn. Let's adjourn the meeting.